Michael, it's so nice to see you. You recently spoke at the Critical Minerals Institute Summit, and the audience loved you. You were talking about the repatriation of critical minerals. So, how about we start there?
Oh, yes, great. A super topic, very timely for today because it's an issue that's all around us.
Well, and of course, you immediately hit everybody with an amazing marketing deck, which we're going to highlight some of those slides in this interview. You were talking about how the USGS lists 12 minerals to which the US is 100% most import reliant on. Which of those are currently CVMR's priorities, and which ones should the US be prioritizing?
Well, let me answer the second part of that right now. The where we've been hit hard with the restrictions and the limitations, China has cut us off from several very important critical materials. Those critical materials are reflected within national defense priorities and also within the computer and electronics industries. And that's where we're going to feel the absence of those resources and supplies first. So, the areas of antimony for munitions, gallium, germanium, graphite for batteries, those areas should be priorities for us right now in seeking some solutions. Now, as far as, CVMR, we're not involved currently with any of those, but we are involved in some other critical materials that also are vital to industry and especially the electrical utility and energy areas for us.
Well, perhaps those are the next 29 critical minerals you discussed that you mentioned that the U.S. has over 50% reliant on other countries. So, do you want to talk about the highlights from that group of 29?
Well, the 29, there's a combination of issues of the availability of the elements themselves. That is, are we producing and mining those materials domestically, or do we have to import the mineral for processing? The second issue is the investment in processing facilities that allow us to refine the material, and turn it into a form that we can that our manufacturing facilities can use. Each of those has unique vulnerabilities. The first that we have to start with is those nations, those markets, those areas that have resources, have minerals that we don't have in the United States. A good example of that is nickel. You keep hearing me say that we're so fortunate that we got a big friendly neighbor up north that has supplied us all the nickel we've needed for the last 70 or 80 years.
So, how does CVMR fit into the landscape that we're discussing right now?
Our focus has been on nickel and cobalt, the transition metals. Our technologies and our chemistries are very well suited for this. And with the systemization that we have employed for the refining process, we have a distinct advantage both in the ability to deploy that technology and also have it meaningful for the individual ore producer. We're addressing really modular systems that go down to as small as 2,000 tons per year. We go up from that and can scale that up, but do so in unit modules that can easily be added with control of the capital and operating budget. They also have flexibility on being able to very selectively address individual metals, individual elements that you might want to refine from a polymetallic ore or source.
A lot has happened in the last 24 hours. A lot of discussion, the impact of tariffs. Of course, China's weaponizing many of these critical minerals, specifically the rare earths, gallium, germanium. Let's talk a little bit about the policy framework. You did a really good job when you were talking to the CMI Summit about how that is currently set up. So let's discuss how it's currently set up and where we're going.
Well, you can't get far into this discussion without bringing up the subject of tariffs. And tariffs right now have us all in a whirlwind because we don't know, we don't have confidence on how it's going to end up. Tariffs are on, tariffs are off, tariffs are up, tariffs are down. What do you manage to? What is your expectation? We're buying, we buy matte or concentrate of some metals. We buy it 6 months ahead of time, and we place our orders. We're depending on that material to come in to meet production. And in doing so, it makes it very hard to manage when you have that type of timetable. Some materials, some especially rare earths, you may even have a much longer purchase time because you're actually buying the material before it's mined and concentrated for delivery. So the tariffs are a major consternation for us right now. But it's clear that the current administration has some clear objectives they're trying to make. Number one, I really think this administration is seeking to access a mineral-rich nation that we have. We have a wealth of materials. It's been inaccessible to us for a number of reasons. Environmental limitations, permits, cultural issues have all limited our ability to access some of the wealth of America. And, there is a genuine philosophy, there's an objective that we access that wealth. By the way, some of that's on federal lands. Much of it may not be on federal lands, but it is part of the bounty of America, and we're seeking to do that. In doing so, we will satisfy some of the supply issues that currently we're very vulnerable on. When we're shipping in, we're importing all of these materials that I outlined, the 29 materials where we get 50% or greater of the import material, the critical material coming in. We need to satisfy that with some domestic capabilities. And many of these minerals we have, but we've never mined or we haven't mined them recently, and we need to reopen up that capability. And in doing so, we will simultaneously meet a third objective, which is to establish processing capability. That processing capability is the weakest point for the United States right now. It's not a much improved for Canada, but at least in the United States, we can say clearly that should be the number one priority.
Okay, so what advice would you give to the current administration with regards to nickel, for instance?
Well, first of all, we need a very clear trade policy. Our current trade policies under the IRA Act really are quite a jumble. It's a puzzle for us. Certain nations were included in the IRA Section 30D that certainly took advantage of copper, but copper's not on the critical materials list for the Department of Interior. Simultaneously, some of the activities are covered for tax advantages and for advantages on advanced energy systems, and some activities are not. In my presentation, I had a value chain where I talked about exploration, the development of the asset and resources, processing, right through recycling of the material for a circularity of the resource. But many of those steps in the value chain are not supported by current policy, and we actually have limited our ability both internally within the United States and also for our international partners under the TPA programs or the Trade Policy Act programs. So we actually need to clear up how we're going to access these materials and how we'll manifest that as far as processing here in the United States. The greatest need that we have right now, consistently across the board for all of those metals I lined out, is in the processing of materials. That is a great deficiency for the United States today.
Well, Michael, as always, it is a real pleasure. And for everybody interested in finding out more about CVMR, please go to the following website. Mr. Hargett, thank you so much for joining us today.
Tracy, thanks very much. Have a great day.